We're at Lytham St, which is a really nice place, not far from Blackpool. So it's our preference other than Blackpool. It does get quite busy. It gets quite busy here as well, but not as busy as Blackpool. I wanted to follow up from my study of trees, but this time I want to do something. I'd like buildings, like I said in the last video. So I'm just gonna see if I can find some interesting buildings and architecture, and I can do that as my next sort of study. Okay, you? Someone saying hello, there we go. This is quite a nice structure. St Pier. So we've got fish and chips. We will actually get in some fish and chips later on before we leave. My wife, my son, my mother-in-law, they're all sat on the beach. My son and wife have just gone to the sea, but the sea's always miles away. Here, for some reason, it's always the sea, the tide's always in Blackpool, but here it's always out. But yeah, I'll just show you the front, the sea. So look at that, it's miles away. I remember going there, taking my son and my nephew, one of my nephews, and it actually took us an hour. Because there's quite a lot of details in these references that I've got and paintings, I want to just go in and do some pencil and then pen. So I do actually make some mistakes as well in this in this spread, so I'll show you that as I get to it, but it doesn't really matter too much. Don't worry too much about getting everything exact. Just really enjoy the Tudor looking part of this pier. An hour to get to the sea, so obviously an hour back. It just goes out too far, the tide. So yeah, just a little stroll down the front, see what I can find. There's a little play area there. There are some toilets, but I've just had to go to a Costa Coffee to use the toilets because there's normally a really big queue here, so it takes too long. And there's a massive queue for the ice cream. I don't know who this chap is, but there's a nice little statue. Don't know who that guy is. We got these nice bandstand type buildings. Maybe I could do that as a sketch. So there we go, the formal gardens. So I think it's a bit of a nice recreational area, and some nice gardens and places to sit, plenty of benches. Even as busy it is, I think a lot of people are out on the beach, so there are plenty of seats available. Let's have a look. There's some buildings just down here, so let's see what I can find. What I look for in buildings is patterns, and I like these buildings because they're all different. And before you ask, I have actually got factor 50 on today, especially on my head, because I don't have a hat. So I don't want to burn. If I do look sunburned, it's from a couple of days ago, being out, doing the garden, that sort of thing. So I did put sun cream on, but it was at a barbecue at my sister's, and I think I did actually catch the sun then. This guy's got the right idea. I'm sitting in the sun. I've spotted something that I can use and add in my sketchbook. This little fountain, which is quite nice. I think the birds might use that more than anyone. Dried out, no water in it. So you can see there's quite a nice bit of garden area. I think someone's doing a bit of karaoke in the pub. So let's just go back on the front, and then I think I'm going to join my family again if my wife and son are back from the sea, which I doubt. It's a nice little place. Let's see. Another place for fish and chips. But we do have our little favourite just behind me. There's a place where we normally get our fish and chips. It's actually back in the town centre where we get our fish and chips. I think it's called Seafarers. Now for this fountain, I want to my crude measurements is just looking at the horizontal lines and just spacing them apart appropriately. I don't measure accurately, just want to get those roughly about the right distance, and then once I'm happy with that, like I said, it doesn't have to be exact, then I'll go in with pen and just to get the impression. What I normally like to do is start with the sky, if there's sky in the scene. So for this I'm using a light mix of cobalt blue, which is quite a nice summery sky, and then as I come down I want to fade that a little bit so it does lighten towards the horizon line. And that can be achieved by just adding more water to the pigment. So because there's gardens and some nice flowers, I wanted to add these flowers just on the bottom corner, so I'm using that Madder Lake red light, so that gives me a nice colour for those flowers. And I will add a stronger mix in the middle and let the colour sort of fade as it gets to the edges, and then there's some little white highlights as well. I'm going to use this green as well. That's all it's named in these are the White Nights pigments, and so this one is just green, so it's a really dark rich green, probably similar to Hooker's green, but that gives me the nice tone for the back of this fountain. There's some sort of privet, trees, bushes, whatever they are. So again, I can just go in and add darker tones in the middle, and as it comes off there is a little bit of a highlight. So for the roof of this building, the sepia mix that I've already got in my palette, I'm just adding a bit of carmine to that because it's a little bit of a red tone within that colour. So just a tiny bit of carmine, and that'll give me the colour that I'm looking for on the roof. So you can see it's quite a vibrant colour, so I'm not using much of that to the sepia. It's probably 70% sepia and then 30% carmine, and we'll just see what colour that gives us. That's quite a nice warm colour. It's a nice colour, and I'm going to use that for most of the roofs. There is on the right hand side my lightest colour, so I'll just be hinting on that, more highlight than dark. But for my darker tones in the roof, I will be just adding more sepia to the mix, so it gives me more of a browny colour rather than the red. So yeah, I think that'll work. So some of the pens I'm using are these Artline pens. They're permanent ink, and this is 0.2. It's my go-between. I do like to use this size. It gives me a nice tip. And I know I've been asked, I think it was Pam that asked, about including people into my sketches. So I've got this little chap. I don't know what he's doing. I thought he was taking a picture, but he's holding something up. And I got him in the reference, so I'm just adding this character as well. So I do paint people, but not too often. And I'm just adding in. So this was my first mistake. I drew the outline in pen, and the right hand side is where the light's hitting, so it's more of a, if I could have left that white, but I'll try and incorporate that. So that was my first mistake. And for the skin tone, what I'm going to do with that carmine mix that I've got in the palette, I'm just adding a little bit of yellow ochre to that mix. So it's a combination of yellow ochre and carmine, or any red will do, and you get those nice fleshy tones. So the left hand side is darker than the right. You've got highlights on the right, and so I shouldn't have put the pen on the right hand side to get more of a highlight, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add in a little bit of a background and see if I can make those highlights stand out anyway. So I'm going to go darker on the left to give me the cast shadow, and then hopefully I can pull some highlights from that. And yeah, just I'm not after anything definite. In fact, you can't see the guy's face in this. It's just going to be the way it is. But yeah, the fountain I've done is not too good either. So they're the colours that I'm using for the skin tone. And yeah, so the fountain is a little bit off. It's a bit thicker on one side, and it's just one of those things. I think nearly every painting that I do, I look at it and realise my mistakes, and that's all good. That's just part of learning. So I just carry on and try and improve, and just try and cover my mistakes as I go along. But yeah, I'm just Just going in with the colours and shapes of this fountain, it's not 100% accurate. In fact, there's more details that I need to add, but I'm not too concerned. And there's the pier. Oh, it's a boating lake behind me that I've just shown you. And another thing that I'm adding that you may not have seen me paint before, I'm actually adding this car to the scene as well. And cars are almost like buildings. Once you get, I really like adding the headlights and lights, backlights. Once you add the lights to the car, it just really pops. So it's almost like, it just reminds me of adding windows to buildings. It's not complete until you've done that. So I'm just getting in the darker tones now, and the car doesn't really resemble the actual car in the scene. I think it's a Passat, but this one's sort of a hybrid Passat and something else. But it just represents a car, some sort of vehicle, and as long as that reads well and you can tell that it's a car, then it's all good. So it's not really the focal point. I do like the building, the pier, so that's my main sort of focus. But I just like doing these spreads because there's lots of different elements, lots of different things to paint, and it just keeps me from getting bored. Sometimes if I spend too long on a painting, I start getting bored, and that's when I start rushing or missing things out and just want it finished and don't give it the time that it needs. And so in this painting, I'm just jumping around and doing different sections, and it's keeping me fresh as well. So that's one thing that I do enjoy. This is a fun part as well. I'm adding the license plate to the back of the car, and this is golden, the colour in the White Knights. It's just known as golden, but I'd say it's probably like a cad orange or a cad red you could use in any other set. You'll see how another thing that I struggle doing is when I need to add a lot of dark, say really dark sort of shadows or anything that's just completely blacked out. I find it difficult to get an even coverage with paint. So what I'm going to do, and you'll see this interesting technique that I'm going to use my Tombow markers with. So this is a number 15. It's just a black Tombow marker. So it's got the nice brush tip, and don't forget these are actually water soluble as well. So once you add the pen, then you can add water and use it like a watercolor pen. And so I'm just using this to block in some of those shadows, and where you can't really see on the reference, but these are sort of shop fronts, and it's where it goes sort of underneath the sort of veranda type structure on the front of the pier. So anything that I add in here, I'm not really picking too many details, if that makes sense. I just want some shapes and just something going on, so you don't have to be accurate on this. This is quite a nice thing to do. I just want that solid blocked in colour. And like I said, if I did that with watercolour, then I'd be using too much watercolour as well. This is just a really nice way of doing it, a different way, and it's a lot easier and quicker. So once I get the black down, I'm just going in with a wet brush, and I'm just allowing some of that pigment to move, because I don't want it solid black. I want some things that you can see within the black, so that it gives more of an interest, and it's not just like a dead space. So I'm using that pigment, just pulling it around and allowing things to sort of happen. And I will be dabbing in some colours as well, just to give the eye something to look at in that dark space. So one of the colours that I'm using, I just dabbed in some of that cobalt blue from a palette, and I will be using a tiny bit of carmine as well, just to give something different within that dark space. Let me know what you think, if this is effective, if you think this is a nice way of doing those really big dark spaces. I'd love to know your thoughts, and please do give me a thumbs up. I'd love you to give me some feedback, and if you're not subscribed, then please do subscribe as well. I really enjoy doing these little spreads where it's a number of different compositions. Oh, and by the way, my wife and son did make it back safely, although they didn't beat my time of 2 hours. I think it took them about 2.5 hours. Me and my mother-in-law were sat there frying in the sun while we waited. She was getting all stressed out, and I just kept on telling her that it does take a long time to get there and back. So it's quite a nice place to come, especially in the summer holidays. It does get fairly busy, as you can see, but we just love it getting to the seaside here in the UK when it is nice and warm. I hope you've enjoyed this video, a little walk around Lytham St and the sketches that I've done. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, bye bye.